The text arrives at 6:47 p.m. He's on his way. Don't cancel. Yuna stares at the screen. 3 years of law school. 2 years dismantling corporate fraud rings. Countless depositions where she's made grown men sweat under cross-examination. And tonight, she's trapped by a blind date arranged by her grandmother, a woman who believes marriage fixes everything a career cannot. She sets the phone face down on the marble countertop. Outside her apartment window, snow falls in thick, silent curtains, the kind of snow that buries things, the kind that makes the city forget its own noise. Her reflection stares back from the darkened glass. Green coat, her armor against winter and bad decisions, hair pinned with surgical precision, lipstick the color of consequences. She looks like someone in control. She is lying to herself. The date was supposed to be a formality. Show up, smile politely, explain that career comes first, leave before dessert. Simple. Except her friend Hana, the one who set this up, mentioned one detail that sits like a stone in Yuna's chest. He's powerful. The kind of powerful that doesn't show up on LinkedIn. That should have been the red flag. That should have been the moment Yuna said no. But curiosity is a dangerous thing for someone who builds cases for a living. Someone who needs to know every angle before entering a room. Someone who hates mysteries more than she hates being wrong. So here she stands, 20 minutes from leaving, wondering if the man waiting at that restaurant is the kind of problem she can solve, or the kind that solves people. Her phone buzzes again. You promised. Hana's timing is ruthless. Yuna exhales. Grabs her keys. Locks the apartment behind her with more force than necessary. The hallway smells like expensive candles and other people's certainty. Everyone else in this building seems to have their lives figured out. Everyone else seems content. She is not content. She takes the elevator down 17 floors, each second a countdown she cannot stop. The lobby is empty except for the doorman, who nods without meeting her eyes. Outside, the cold hits like an accusation. Her car waits in the underground garage, sleek, black, reliable. The one thing in her life that never disappoints. She slides into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and pulls into the snow-thickened streets. The restaurant is 30 minutes away. She has 30 minutes to decide who she wants to be when she walks through those doors. The problem is this. Yuna has spent her entire career learning how to read people, how to detect lies, how to see what they're hiding beneath polished words and expensive suits. But tonight, she is about to meet someone who has spent his entire life making sure no one ever sees him at all. And neither of them knows the universe has already made its choice. If you've ever been forced into something you couldn't escape, you know this feeling. Subscribe, because what happens next will make you question every decision you've ever avoided across the city. In a penthouse that overlooks everything and touches nothing, Kang Minho stands before a mirror and lies to himself. The suit fits perfectly. Charcoal gray, Italian wool, cut to hide the calluses on his hands. Hands that have rebuilt carburetors and balanced crankshafts. Hands that smell like engine grease no matter how much he scrubs. Tonight, those hands must look like they've never done real work. He adjusts his cufflinks, platinum, engraved with a family crest he didn't choose. The weight of them feels wrong. Everything about this moment feels wrong. His phone vibrates against the marble sink. A message from his grandfather's assistant, though everyone knows who really sent it. The reservation is confirmed. Her family expects you at 8 more. Do not embarrass us. Minho doesn't respond. There's nothing to say that hasn't already been decided for him. The penthouse is silent except for the hum of climate control and the distant heartbeat of the city below. 37 floors up, you can't hear traffic, can't hear sirens, can't hear the messy, honest noise of people living actual lives. He hates it here. His real apartment, the one no one in the family knows about, sits above a garage in the industrial district. 400 square feet of concrete and exposed brick. A single window that overlooks an alley where stray cats fight over scraps. It smells like motor oil and instant coffee. It's the only place he can breathe. But tonight, he wears the suit, plays the air, meets the woman his grandfather chose because alliances matter more than happiness, and happiness is a luxury. Men like him don't deserve. He's been told 3 things about her. She's intelligent, she's connected, and she's dangerous in ways that have nothing to do with violence. That last part should intrigue him. Instead, it exhausts him, because Minho has spent his entire life surrounded by dangerous people. People who smile while calculating your worth. People who measure affection in leverage. People who see him not as a man, but as a continuation of something they built with blood and silence. He glances at the watch on his wrist, a Patek Philippe his grandfather gave him when he turned 25. The inscription on the back reads, "Legacy is not inherited. It is earned." Minho has never earned anything that mattered. He grabs his coat and heads toward the private elevator. The descent is smooth, silent, obscenely fast. By the time he reaches the underground garage, his jaw is clenched tight enough to ache. His car waits in its designated spot, a black sedan, bulletproof glass, license plates that make police look the other way. The kind of car that announces exactly who you are before you even step out. He hates this car. But he gets in anyway. Starts the engine, pulls out into the night where snow is just beginning to fall. The restaurant is 40 minutes away through side streets he's been avoiding. Streets that remind him of the city's real face, the one hidden beneath glass towers and power lunches. Outside, the snow thickens. Inside, the heater hums. And somewhere in the space between obligation and escape, Minho makes a decision he doesn't realize he's making. He takes the long way. He drives slowly. He tells himself it's the weather. When you lie to yourself about why you're stalling, the truth is usually waiting just ahead. Hit subscribe before fate runs out of patience. The snow doesn't fall. It attacks. Yuna's wipers struggle against the accumulation, rubber blades scraping ice that reforms faster than they can clear. Visibility drops to 20 feet, then 10. The GPS on her dashboard keeps recalculating, rerouting her through neighborhoods she doesn't recognize. She should have taken the main roads, should have left earlier, should have said no 3 weeks ago when Hana first mentioned this nightmare. Should. The word tastes like regret. Her phone sits in the cup holder, screen dark except for the time, 7:31 p.m., 29 minutes until she's supposed to walk through restaurant doors and smile at a stranger her grandmother has already decided she'll marry. The street narrows. Old buildings lean close on either side. Warehouses and shuttered shops, the kind of area the city forgot to renovate. No traffic, no pedestrians, just snow and silence, and the faint glow of streetlights struggling to matter. Her rear tire catches ice. The car slides, not dramatically, just enough to spike her pulse, and she corrects, hands tight on the wheel, breath held. The tires find grip, she exhales, and then the road curves, and the snowbank appears too fast, and physics makes its ruling. She yanks the wheel left. The car doesn't care. Momentum carries her sideways into the drift, and suddenly she's stopped, engine whining, tires spinning uselessly against packed snow that might as well be concrete. Silence, then the sound of her own breathing, too loud in the enclosed space. Yuna shifts into reverse. The tires scream. The car doesn't move. She tries again. Nothing. The rear end is buried, front wheels lifted just enough to lose traction. She's not stuck. She's trapped. Her phone lights up. "Are you close?" Hana's timing is cosmically cruel. Yuna stares at the message. She could call a tow truck, could call Hana, could call the restaurant and cancel with some excuse about weather and safety and how sorry she is. But her phone battery icon blinks red. 12%. Maybe 20 minutes of life left if she's lucky. No signal bars. Of course, because this neighborhood exists in some dead zone the carriers forgot. She tries the engine again. The sound is pathetic. Metal grinding against mechanical reality. A car begging to be released from snow that doesn't negotiate. Outside, the street remains empty. No headlights. No movement. Just the slow, relentless burial of her vehicle beneath white oblivion. Yuna presses her forehead against the steering wheel. The cold leather stings her skin. She counts to 10. Then 20. Then stops counting because numbers don't solve this. She is going to miss the date. She is going to sit here until the battery dies and the cold becomes a problem. She is going to have to call someone, which means admitting defeat, which means explaining how a woman who has argued cases in front of federal judges somehow couldn't handle a snowstorm. Her breath fogs the windshield. She wipes it clear with her sleeve and stares at the rearview mirror. That's when she sees them. Headlights, approaching slowly, cautiously, cutting through the snow like a question being asked. Relief floods her chest, then suspicion, then something closer to fear. Because this neighborhood is empty, has been empty since she turned down that side street. And now, in the exact moment she needs help, someone appears. The universe doesn't work like this. Luck doesn't arrive on cue. Yuna watches the headlights grow brighter, closer, and her lawyer's mind cycles through scenarios. Tow truck, good Samaritan, opportunistic predator. She reaches for her phone. 11% battery. The headlights stop 20 feet behind her. A door opens. Sometimes help arrives exactly when you need it. Sometimes it arrives because you needed it. Subscribe if you want to know which one this is. Minho sees the hazard lights before he sees the car. 4 amber blinks cutting through the snow, rhythmic and desperate. A distress signal in a language everyone understands. His first instinct is to keep driving. Strangers are complications. Complications create witnesses. Witnesses create problems that ripple outward in ways you can't control. But something in the tilt of the vehicle, nose up, rear end buried, completely helpless, makes him ease off the gas. He tells himself it's pragmatic. If the car stays stuck, emergency services get called, traffic gets blocked, his route gets compromised. Better to clear the obstacle now. He tells himself it's not about the person inside. He's lying, and he knows it. Minho parks 20 feet back and steps out into the cold. Snow immediately coats his shoulders, his hair, the expensive fabric of a suit that was never meant for manual labor. The air tastes like metal and ice. He approaches slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. Through the driver's side window, he can see her, hands gripping the steering wheel like it's a life raft, eyes tracking him in the rearview mirror with the sharp focus of someone calculating odds. She cracks the window. 1 inch. Enough to speak. Not enough to be grabbed through. Smart. "Looks like you're stuck," he says, her eyes narrow. "I gathered." Her voice has edges, the kind that come from courtrooms or boardrooms or anywhere you learn to defend territory with words. "It'll take hours for a tow," Minho says, keeping his tone neutral. "I can get you out." And why would you do that? The question surprises him. Most people say thank you before interrogating motives. Most people assume kindness first. She assumes danger first. He almost smiles. "Because I can," he says, "and because you're blocking the road." For a second, she just stares at him. Then something shifts. Not trust, but a calculation completed. She nods once. Minho walks back to his car, pops the trunk, pulls out the emergency kit he maintains himself. Shovel. Traction mats. Gloves that don't match the suit. He returns to her car and drops to a crouch beside the rear tire. The snow is packed hard, layered with ice underneath. This didn't happen in the last 5 minutes. She's been here a while. He starts digging. The shovel bites into frozen earth, each scoop an argument against physics. Snow flies. His breath comes in visible clouds. Sweat gathers beneath the collar of his shirt despite the cold. Behind him, a car door opens. "Let me help," she says. Minho glances back. She's standing in heels that were never meant for snow. Green coat cinched tight against the wind. Expression set in stubborn determination. "You don't have to. I'm not sitting in the car while you do this alone." It's not a request. She crouches beside him, coat hem dragging through snow. Gloved hands reaching for the second traction mat. She doesn't ask where it goes. She watches what he's doing and mirrors it on the other side. They work in silence. Not the awkward kind, the efficient kind. The kind that happens when two people understand the task and don't waste energy on performance. Minho clears the snow from around the tires. She positions the mats. He checks the angle. She adjusts without being told. When he moves to the driver's side to start the engine, she's already stepping back, giving him space. The engine roars. The tires catch. The car lurches forward 6 inches, then a foot, then breaks free completely, rolling onto clear pavement with a sound like victory. She laughs. It's not polite laughter, not the kind you give strangers to fill silence. It's real, surprised and relieved and slightly disbelieving. The sound cuts through the snow and the cold and every layer of performance Minho has wrapped around himself tonight. He turns to face her. She's smiling. Actually smiling. Snow caught in her hair, makeup slightly smudged, heels ruined, and she's smiling like she just won something. "Thank you," she says. And this time, there's no calculation. Just gratitude. Minho nods. "You should get those tires checked. Treads are almost gone." "I know. I've been putting it off." "Don't. Are you always this bossy with people you rescue?" "Only when they need it." That earns him another smile. Smaller this time. More complicated. She pulls out her phone, glances at the screen, and her expression shifts. Something between relief and dread. "I should go," she says. "I'm already late." "Where are you headed?" She hesitates. Then, restaurant, downtown. Blind date I'm dreading. Minho goes very still. "What restaurant?" he asks, though he already knows. She tells him the name. When coincidence feels like fate, you're either lucky or trapped. Subscribe because the universe just played its hand. They stand there in the snow. Two strangers who are not strangers anymore, and neither of them knows what to say. Yuna speaks first. "You're going downtown?" "I was," Minho says carefully. "Were?" He should lie. Should make an excuse and drive away before this becomes something he can't undo. But the suit is already ruined, covered in snow and mud. And the reservation is for 8 ubats, and it's 7:52. And he's not going to make it on time anyway. And this woman, standing here with ruined heels and snow in her hair, looks exactly like someone who also doesn't want to arrive. "I could give you a ride," he says. "Your tires won't make it 3 blocks." Yuna glances at her car, then at his. Calculates. "You're sure?" "I'm already going that direction." It's not technically a lie. She nods, grabs her purse from the front seat, locks the door like she's sealing off one version of the evening and stepping into another. Minho's car is warm. Climate control set to exactly 70 degrees. Leather seats that still smell new, even though the car is 3 years old. Classical music playing low. Chopin, because anything else feels like a performance. She slides into the passenger seat and immediately exhales. God, that's warm. Heat's on the left if you want more. No, this is perfect. They pull back onto the road. The snow has eased slightly. Falling now instead of attacking. Visibility opens up. The route downtown becomes possible. For a while, neither of them speaks. The silence isn't uncomfortable, just careful. Two people who have just stepped outside their planned scripts and aren't sure what comes next. So, Yuna says eventually. Blind date? Minho glances at her. That obvious? You have the look. What look? Like you're being escorted to your own execution. He almost laughs. That obvious. I'm in the same boat, she admits. Friend set it up. Grandmother approved. Everyone's very excited except me. What does he do? Minho asks. The guy you're meeting. I don't know. That's the terrifying part. She pauses. What about you? What does she do? Also don't know. I was told she's intelligent and dangerous. Dangerous how? The kind that doesn't involve weapons. Yuna smiles at that. Well, at least they're honest. Are you? Dangerous, I mean. She considers the question seriously. Depends on who you ask. I'm a lawyer. Corporate litigation. I've been told I make people uncomfortable. That's not a bad thing. You'd be surprised how many people think it is. They reach a stoplight, red glow reflecting off fresh snow. Minho watches her in his peripheral vision. The way she sits, spine straight, hands folded in her lap, but shoulders slightly relaxed, guard lowering 1 degree at a time. What do you do? She asks. The question every person in his position dreads, because the real answer, heir to a criminal empire, isn't something you share in the first 20 minutes. And the other real answer, I restore broken engines because it's the only honest work I know. Sounds ridiculous, coming from a man in a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. I work with machines, he says. It's true enough. Restoration, mostly. Things that are broken but worth fixing. That's specific. I like specific. Me too. Vague people make me nervous. Why? Because vagueness hides things, and I've built a career finding what people hide. Minho feels something shift in his chest. A warning, maybe, or recognition. The light turns green. He accelerates. They drive through neighborhoods that transition from industrial to residential to commercial. The city rearranging itself around them. Can I ask you something? Yuna says. Sure. Do you actually want to go to this dinner? Minho doesn't answer immediately. The question deserves honesty, and honesty is dangerous, and danger is exactly what he's been trying to avoid. But something about this woman, this stranger who worked beside him in the snow without complaint, who laughed like she meant it, who asks direct questions and expects direct answers, makes lying feel worse than the truth. No, he says. I don't. Me neither. They look at each other, really look, and in that moment, something unspoken passes between them. Not quite conspiracy, not quite rebellion, something closer to shared understanding. There's a diner, Minho says, about 10 minutes from here, open 24 hours, makes terrible coffee but excellent pancakes. Yuna's smile spreads slowly. Are you suggesting we skip our blind dates? I'm suggesting we're already late. Might as well be late for something better. She should say no. Should insist on the restaurant. Should honor the obligation she promised to keep. Instead, she reaches for her phone, types a quick message, and hits send. Terrible coffee sounds perfect, she says. The moment you choose yourself over obligation, everything changes. Subscribe before we find out what that choice costs. The diner smells like burnt coffee and decades of cooking grease absorbed into vinyl booths. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting everything in a yellow glow that makes the place feel trapped in 1987. It's perfect. Minho slides into the booth across from Yuna, and for the first time all night, his shoulders drop. No one here knows his last name. No one here cares about the suit or the watch or the bloodline that follows him like a shadow. This is so much better, Yuna says, pulling off her coat, than the restaurant, than pretending I want to be at the restaurant. A waitress appears, 60-something, name tag that reads, Barb, expression that says she's seen every kind of customer and judges none of them. She drops 2 menus on the table without ceremony. Coffee? She asks. Please, they say in unison. Barb nods and disappears. Minho watches Yuna scan the laminated menu like she's reading a contract. Thorough, methodical, looking for the loopholes. So, she says without looking up. What do we tell them? Who? The people waiting for us. At the restaurant we're not going to. Minho hadn't thought that far ahead. The truth? Which is? Car trouble. Weather. Traffic. All technically accurate. You're a lawyer. You tell me if it's a good excuse. She smiles. It's defensible. Barb returns with coffee and mugs that have been washed 10,000 times. Yuna wraps both hands around hers like it's a source of heat she's been missing all night. They order pancakes for her, eggs, and toast for him. Food that requires no performance, no etiquette, no awareness of which fork to use. Can I ask you something? Yuna says. You keep asking permission, just ask. Why did you stop, back there, for my car? Minho considers the question. I don't know. Maybe because you look stuck. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She studies him over the rim of her mug. Not suspicious anymore. Just curious. You're hard to read. Good. Why good? Because being easy to read gets you hurt. Something shifts in her expression. Recognition, maybe. Or understanding. You sound like someone who's been hurt. You sound like someone who notices things people don't want noticed. Occupational hazard. Their food arrives. They eat in comfortable silence for a while, the kind that doesn't need filling. Outside, snow continues to fall, softer now, like the city's finally exhaling. Minho's phone vibrates. He ignores it. Then it vibrates again. And again. Yuna glances at it. You should probably. It's fine. Is it? He looks at the screen. 3 missed calls. 2 from his grandfather's assistant. 1 from a number he doesn't recognize, but knows intimately. The kind of number that only calls when there's a problem. Work, he says. At 8:30 on a Friday. It's that kind of job. What kind? He's saved by her phone lighting up. She checks it, and her face does something complicated. Guilt mixed with relief, mixed with defiance. Hana, she says. My friend, the one who set this up. What does she want? To know where I am, why I'm not at the restaurant, whether I'm dead in a ditch. What are you going to tell her? Yuna thinks about it. Then she types something quickly and hits send. That I met someone more interesting than the blind date. Minho goes very still. Did you tell her my name? No, why? Curious. But there's weight in the word. Weight, she notices. Should I not have said that? Yuna asks. It's fine. You keep saying things are fine. Because they are. You're lying. He looks at her directly now. You're perceptive. You're evasive. They stare at each other across the table. Something unspoken, building in the space between them. Not quite tension. Not quite trust. Something that feels like both. Yuna's phone buzzes again. This time, she picks it up and goes pale. What? Minho asks. She turns the screen toward him. It's a message from Hana. Just 3 words. His name. Now. Below it, a second message. The guy you were supposed to meet. Kang Minho. Do you know who he is? The diner goes very quiet. Not actually quiet. The fluorescent lights still hum. Other customers still talk. Barb still pours coffee at the counter. But between them, at this booth, in this moment, silence drops like a blade. Yuna's eyes move from the phone to his face. Searching. Calculating. Assembling pieces of a puzzle she didn't know she was solving. Kang Minho, she says slowly. He doesn't deny it, doesn't confirm it, just watches her work through the implications. That's you, she says. You're him. Yes. And I'm Yuna, he says, because he knows now. Has known since she said the restaurant name. Has known and chosen silence anyway. She laughs. Not the real laugh from the snow, the other kind. The kind that happens when the universe reveals its punchline, and the joke is you. We're the blind date, she says. We're the blind date. They sit there, 2 people who have just discovered they were running from each other, directly into each other, and neither of them knows whether to be relieved or terrified. When the person you're avoiding turns out to be the person you've been talking to. Irony stops being funny. Subscribe, because what happens next makes this look like the easy part. For 10 seconds, neither of them speaks. Then Yuna starts laughing again. Real this time, the kind that comes from deep in the chest and can't be controlled. This is insane, she says, completely. We spent the last hour trying to avoid each other, and ended up here anyway. Fate has a sick sense of humor. Minho finds himself smiling, actually smiling. You said that earlier. Did I? When you were stuck in the snow, you said the universe was laughing at you. I was right. They look at each other, and something settles. The shock fading into something stranger, relief maybe, or the kind of exhausted acceptance that comes when you stop fighting inevitability. So, Yuna says, what now? We could leave. Pretend this never happened. Tell our families the date was terrible, and we never want to see each other again. We could. Or, Minho leans forward slightly. We could stay. Finish our coffee. Talk like 2 people who actually want to be here. Is that what we are? People who want to be here? I don't know, are we? Yuna picks up her mug, studies the coffee like it holds answers. I didn't want to come tonight. I was furious about it, actually. Felt like I was being sold off to the highest bidder. I know the feeling. But this, she gestures between them. This doesn't feel like that. No, Minho agrees. It doesn't. Why? Because we chose it, even accidentally. She smiles at that. Small but genuine. Accidental choice, I like that. They keep talking, real talking. Not the careful kind from the car, but the kind that happens when pretense falls away and people remember how to be honest. She tells him about law school, about the cases that keep her awake at night, about clients whose lives she holds in her hands and the weight of that responsibility. He tells her about engines, about the satisfaction of taking something broken and making it whole again, about metal and oil and the language machines speak when you listen carefully enough. He doesn't tell her about his family. She doesn't ask. It's the only lie between them, the only omission. And it sits there like a third presence at the table, invisible but undeniable. Minho's phone vibrates again. This time he glances at it. Call me. Now. His grandfather's assistant. 3rd message in 20 minutes. You need to take that, Yuna says. It can wait. Can it? He looks at her. Really looks. Wants to memorize this. The way she sits with her elbows on the table. The way she tilts her head when she's thinking. The way she makes him forget, just for a moment, about the empire waiting for him outside this diner. Probably not, he admits. Then go. I'll be here. He stands, phone already pressed to his ear, and walks toward the entrance where the signal is stronger. Through the window, Yuna watches him talk, watches his posture stiffen, watches his jaw clench in a way that means bad news. Her own phone buzzes. Hana again. Please tell me you didn't actually go out with him. Yuna frowns. Types back. Why? What's wrong? The response comes immediately. Do you know what his family does? Who they are? Yuna, this isn't just some wealthy family. The message cuts off. Then 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, call me. I'll explain everything. Just be careful. Yuna's stomach tightens. She looks up. Through the window, Minho is still on the phone. His back is to her now, shoulders tense, free hand rubbing his neck the way people do when they're receiving orders they don't want to follow. He looks exactly like a man being controlled. And Yuna, who has built a career reading people, who has learned to spot deception in depositions and boardrooms, suddenly realizes she has no idea who she's been talking to. The coffee tastes bitter now. When Minho returns to the table, something has changed in his face. The easy warmth from before, gone, replaced by careful distance. Everything okay? Yuna asks. Fine. That word again. The one he uses when things are not fine. You're a bad liar, she says. I'm a great liar. You just pay attention. Is that a compliment or a warning? He doesn't answer. Instead, he signals Barb for the check. We should go, he says. I can drive you back to your car. Minho, it's late. Roads are getting worse. He's pulling away. She can feel it. The walls going back up. The performance resuming. Whatever the phone call was, it ended this. They pay. They leave. The cold outside the diner hits harder than it did before. In the car, the silence is different. Not comfortable anymore. Careful. Cautious. Yuna's phone sits in her lap, Hana's messages still glowing on the screen. Questions she doesn't want to ask. Answers she's afraid to hear. And Minho drives through the snow, hand steady on the wheel, face unreadable. And he looks like someone who has just remembered he doesn't get to keep good things. Trust is easy until someone gives you a reason to doubt. Subscribe if you want to see what happens when the foundation cracks. 3 days later, Yuna finds the name in a case file. Not looking for it. Not even thinking about him. Just doing her job. Reviewing documents for a fraud investigation. Scanning shell companies and dummy corporations, and the labyrinth of money that powerful people build to hide their crimes. And there it is. Kong Holdings. Subsidiary. Kong Development. Subsidiary of subsidiary. Hanseong Industrial. A web of companies connected by a single family name, the same name Minho carries. The same name that made Hana's messages sound like warnings. Yuna's hands go still on the keyboard. She tells herself it's coincidence. Common name. Korea has millions of Kangs. This doesn't mean anything. But her lawyer brain knows better. Her lawyer brain sees patterns. And this pattern points directly at the man who fixed her car and bought her terrible coffee and made her laugh in the snow. She clicks deeper into the files. Zoning violations. Bribery allegations, witness intimidation, contract manipulation. A building collapsed in Busan 2 years ago. 12 people dead, investigation buried, payouts made quietly to families who signed NDAs and disappeared. Her client, a small business owner who lost everything when Kang Development bought his property through legal blackmail, sits at the bottom of this food chain. His life destroyed by a machine that operates above the law. A machine built by Minho's family. Yuna closes the laptop, opens it again. Stares at the name until it stops looking like letters and starts looking like a betrayal. Her phone is in her hand before she decides to pick it up. She calls him. It rings 4 times. Then, "Yuna." His voice sounds exactly the same, warm, careful, like they're still 2 people who chose each other accidentally. "We need to talk," she says. "When?" "Now." Silence on the other end. Then, "Where?" They meet at the park, where they should have met 3 days ago if everything had gone according to plan. Snow covers the benches. The paths are empty. The city feels held in suspension. Minho arrives first. She sees him from across the park, standing near the frozen fountain, hands in pockets, breath visible in the cold. He looks exactly like he did that night. Expensive coat, careful posture. A man who knows how to occupy space without drawing attention. She walks toward him with her laptop bag clutched tight. "Hey," he says when she's close enough. She doesn't return the greeting, just pulls out her laptop, opens it, turns the screen toward him. "Tell me this isn't you," she says. He looks at the screen. His expression doesn't change. Not surprise, not confusion, just resignation. "It's not me," he says quietly. "It's my family." Same thing. "It's not. You benefit from this. You carry the name. You inherit the empire." Her voice is steady, but there's something underneath. Not quite anger, not quite pain. Something worse. Disappointment. "I know," Minho says. "That's it?" "You know? What do you want me to say?" "That you had nothing to do with this. That you're different. That you've been fighting against it." She's breathing hard now. "Give me something, Minho." He meets her eyes. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I'd be lying. I have done nothing. I've known what they are my entire life, and I've done nothing except fix cars in a garage and pretend I'm separate from it." The honesty hits harder than denial would have. "My client," Yuna says, "Mr. Cho, lost his business because your family wanted his property. They threatened him. Threatened his daughter. He has nothing now. And you," her voice cracks slightly, "you let me talk about my work, about fighting for people like him, and you said nothing. I didn't know it was connected." "Don't." She holds up a hand. "Don't insult me with excuses." Minho goes quiet. Snow falls between them. The fountain drips where ice is melting. "You let me trust you," Yuna says. "You let me think you were different from the person I was dreading to meet. But you're not. You're exactly who I was afraid you'd be." "Yuna, were you ever going to tell me?" The question hangs there. Simple. Devastating. Minho looks at her, and something breaks in his expression. "I don't know. I wanted to. But every day I didn't felt like another lie. And after a while, it was too late. It was too late the moment you knew. I know. You keep saying that. Like knowing makes it better. Like awareness is the same as action. It's not. I know that too." She closes the laptop, holds it against her chest like armor. "I represent people your family destroys. That's what I do. That's who I am. And you," she stops, breathes. "You're the heir to the thing I've dedicated my life to fighting. I never wanted to be. But you are. Yes. So where does that leave us?" Minho looks at her, really looks, and she sees it. The split in him. The man who fixed her car and the man who comes from blood money. 2 people in the same body, at war with each other. "I don't know," he says. "I don't know how to be both things. The person you met, and the person I was born as." "You can't," Yuna says quietly. "That's the point. You have to choose." "And if I choose wrong?" "Then we both lose." She turns to walk away. He doesn't stop her, doesn't call after her, just stands there in the snow while she leaves, carrying her laptop full of evidence against his family, carrying the weight of a connection that never had a chance. 10 steps away, she stops. "For what it's worth," she says without turning around. "I wish you had been different." "Me too," Minho says, and that's the last thing they say to each other before the silence becomes permanent. Love doesn't survive when it's built on opposite sides of a war. Subscribe, because what he does next will cost him everything. Minho walks into his grandfather's office at 11 p.m. with a briefcase full of insurance. The office occupies the top floor of a building the family has owned for 40 years. All dark wood and leather, and the kind of silence that money buys. His grandfather sits behind a desk that belonged to his own father. Empire passing down through generations like a genetic disease. "You're late," the old man says without looking up. "I was busy. Busy failing to show up to a dinner that was arranged at considerable effort." "About that. You embarrassed this family." Minho sets the briefcase on the desk, opens it, removes a folder thick with documents. "I'm about to embarrass it more," he says. His grandfather looks up now, eyes sharp despite his age, reading Minho the way he's read opponents and rivals and anyone foolish enough to challenge him. "What is this?" "Copies, financial records, shell companies, bribery ledgers, everything you've spent 40 years hiding." The silence that follows is different from the usual silence. This one has teeth. "You wouldn't?" "I already have. Encrypted. Uploaded. Dead man switch. If anything happens to me, it goes to every prosecutor and journalist in the country." His grandfather's hands flatten on the desk. "You're bluffing. I learned from you. When have I ever bluffed?" The old man stands, moves around the desk slowly, studies Minho like he's looking at a stranger. "She got to you," he says. "That woman. That lawyer. Her name is Yuna. I know her name. I know what she does. I know she's been building a case against us for 6 months." Minho's chest tightens. "You knew. When you arranged the date, you knew who she was." "Of course. Keep your enemies close. Marry them if you can. Control them if you can't. That's why you wanted me to meet her. Not alliance. Control. Everything is control, boy. You were supposed to learn that by now." Minho picks up the briefcase. "I'm done learning." "You're done when I say you're done." "No, I'm done now. The projects tied to the Busan property. Cancel them. The ones in Gangnam, dissolve them. Return what you stole. Make it right. Or what? Or I burn it all down. Every company, every account, every secret you've buried. I will destroy the empire you built." His grandfather laughs, actually laughs. "You don't have the spine. Try me." They stare at each other across the office. Decades of expectation and resentment crystallized into this single moment. "You'll lose everything," his grandfather says. "Your name, your inheritance, your future." "I know. You'll have nothing. I'll have my hands. I'll have my skills. I'll have a life that's mine. You'll have poverty. Better than this." The old man's expression shifts, not anger anymore. Something colder. "You're making a mistake. Probably. But it's my mistake. She won't take you back. You know that, don't you? Even if you do this, even if you walk away, she won't forgive you." The words land exactly where they're meant to. Right in the center of Minho's chest, where hope had been quietly growing despite everything. "I know," Minho says. "I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing it because I can't look at myself anymore." He walks to the door. His grandfather's voice stops him before he leaves. "If you walk out that door, you are no longer my grandson." Minho doesn't turn around. "I was never your grandson. I was your successor. There's a difference. You'll regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll regret something I chose." He leaves. The elevator descends. By the time he reaches the lobby, 3 calls have already come through on his phone. By the time he reaches his car, 5 more. By morning, the news will break. Air severs ties with family empire. Projects canceled. Investigations launched. By morning, Minho will be nobody. And for the first time in his life, he feels like he can breathe. Walking away from power doesn't make you free. It just changes what's hunting you. Subscribe before you miss the ending. 6 weeks later, the garage sits on the edge of the industrial district, wedged between a closed factory and a warehouse that stores things nobody claims. It's exactly where Minho belongs now, in the parts of the city that people with power ignore. He works alone, rebuilds engines, takes payment in cash, lives in the apartment upstairs that smells like oil and instant coffee. No one knows his name here. No one cares about the empire he walked away from. He's anonymous. He's free. He's lonely. The news covered it for 2 weeks. Scandal in prominent family. Heir disappears. Allegations surface. Projects halted. Some people called him a whistleblower. Others called him a traitor. Minho called himself neither. He just called himself finished. Yuna never contacted him. He didn't expect her to. The work she'd been building against his family accelerated after he left. Cases filed. Injunctions granted. His grandfather's empire didn't fall, but it fractured. Enough to matter. Enough to mean something. Mr. Cho got his settlement, got his daughter's future back. Minho read about it in the paper and felt something he hadn't felt in years. The quiet satisfaction of having done the right thing, even when no one thanked him for it. He's under a car, a 1987 sedan that needs a new transmission, when he hears footsteps on the garage floor. "We're closed," he calls out without looking. Even for old clients? He freezes, knows that voice, knows the exact cadence of it, the way certain syllables land harder than others. He rolls out from under the car. Yuna stands near the entrance, hands in the pockets of a coat he recognizes. Green, the same one from that night in the snow. Her hair is different, shorter, sharper. But her eyes are the same, direct, unflinching. "Hey," she says. "Hey." They stare at each other across grease-stained concrete and the weight of everything unsaid. "How did you find me?" Minho asks. "I'm a lawyer. I find things." "Right." She walks closer, looks around the garage, takes in the tools, the cars in various states of disrepair, the life he's built from nothing. "This suits you," she says. "Better than the penthouse?" "Much better." He wipes his hands on a rag even though they'll never be truly clean. "Why are you here, Yuna?" "Because I've spent 6 weeks being angry at you, and I'm tired of it. You have every right, I know, and maybe I'll be angry again tomorrow. But today, I wanted to see if you actually did it, if you actually walked away." "I did." "Was it worth it?" He considers the question, looks around at the garage, at the honest work and the anonymity, and the freedom that came at the cost of everything he'd ever known. "Yes," he says, "it was worth it." Yuna nods slowly. "Good. Is that all you came to say?" "No." She pulls something from her pocket, a folded piece of paper. Hands it to him. He unfolds it. Reads. Looks up at her in confusion. "It's a car repair estimate," he says. "My tires. You said I needed to replace them. That was 6 weeks ago. I've been busy, and picky about who I trust with my car." She pauses. "I trust you." The words land heavier than they should. Not just about tires, about everything. "Yuna, I'm not saying I've forgiven everything. I'm not saying we pick up where we left off. I'm saying I want to see if the person I met that night in the snow is real, if he still exists." Minho looks at her, at the woman who could have destroyed him, and chose instead to give him a chance to destroy himself properly. He exists, Minho says quietly. He's just figuring out who he is without the rest of it. Then maybe I'll come back when you know. Maybe I'd like that. She smiles, small, careful, but real. Fix my tires, Minho. I will. And maybe. She stops, starts again. Maybe when they're done, you could drive me somewhere. Where? I don't know yet. Somewhere neither of us has been. He watches her walk back to her car, watches her drive away, watches until the tail lights disappear around the corner. Then he looks down at the estimate in his hands, at the possibility it represents, at the future that might exist if he can prove he's worth the second chance. Outside, the city continues. Inside the garage, Minho gets back to work, fixing things, starting with himself. Some stories don't end with perfect resolution. They end with the possibility of something better. Subscribe, because the best chapters are the ones we write next.